Gangster Disciples' history can be traced back to the 1960s. Larry Hoover, often regarded as the founder of the Gangster Disciples, was born on November 30, 1950 in Jackson, Mississippi. Larry Hoover moved with his family to Chicago when he was 4. When he turned 13, he joined a gang called the Supreme Gangsters, which was located in his neighborhood. While a sophomore in high school, Larry Hoover was gunned down by a rival gang member on his first day of school and got kicked out as a result. While out of school, and with no job, he turned to a life of crime, ranging from prostitutes, gamblers, and drug dealers. Larry Hoover eventually became the leader of the Supreme Gangsters, and in 1966 Hoover and the gang overpowered the King Cobras, which forced the remaining Cobras to ally themselves with the Black Disciples Nation, which was under David Barksdale's control. Larry Hoover would later merge the Gangster Disciples with numerous other gangs to form the Gangster Nation. Gangster Nation was a merge between the Supreme Gangsters, African Sniper Gangsters, Raven Gangsters, High Supreme Gangsters, Maniac Gangsters, Russian Gangsters, Mafia Gangsters, 75th Street Syndicate Gangsters, Gentown Gangsters, Outlaw Gangsters, 95th Street Supreme Gangsters, The Dells Gangsters, East Side Syndicate Gangsters, West Side Supreme Gangsters, Racketeer Gangsters, Imperial Gangsters, and the Black Pimp Gangsters of the West Side. The Gangster Nation's size was increasing, however, they were still trailing the Black Disciples and the Black Keystone Rangers. David Barksdale was the leader of the Black Disciples, and Jeff Ford was the leader of the Black Keystones. Jeff Ford wanted to join forces with Larry Hoover and promised a high leadership in the new. Realizing that his new position would be lower than his current, Larry Hoover declined. In 1969, instead of joining forces with the Black Keystone, Larry Hoover formed an alliance with the Black Disciples, which caused them to adapt a new name, Black Gangster Disciples, BGDN. The BGDN alliance ended the war that was going on between the Gangster Nation and the Black Disciples in the 60s. The BGDN started turning their ways around after the formation of the new alliance and participated in numerous community programs. The gang opened restaurants and gas stations and even went as far as to steer young kids in school toward the right direction. On the surface, it looked as if the BGDN was moving toward a positive direction. However, beginning in the 1970s, massive amount of drugs started to flood the very same black community they were helping. The BGDN was deep in the drug trade. Many of their members started to get rich off the drug trade, while some of their members fell victim to the addicted substances they were selling. Larry Hoover and Andrew Young were found guilty of murder in 1973 and were sentenced to 150-200 years each for murdering William Young, a drug addict believed to have stolen one of the gang's supplies of drug. Joshua would later testify against both Hoover and Young, and saying that he witnessed both of them kidnapping William Young. David Barksdale would later die on September 2, 1974 due to kidney failure from a gunshot wound he suffered in 1968. Due to the death of Barksdale, a new leader needed to be appointed to run BGDN. The decision came down to Larry Hoover and Jerome "Shorty" Freeman. It was decided that Hoover would be the new leader. 4 years after Hoover became the leader of the BGDN, Jerome Freeman decided to dismember the alliance, resulting in the Black Disciples and the Gangster Nation heading separate ways. With King Barksdale dead and King Hoover in prison, the police were baffled as to how the GDs were still able to amass massive amount of profits and keep growing. Hoover's power reached a pinnacle when he created a new alliance of gangs known as Folk Nation, and managed to order a prison riot in Pontiac Prison located in Illinois, which resulted with the death of 3 dead officers. The new Folk Alliance resembled that of BGDN and consisted of both BGDs and GDs as well as numerous other gangs. Hoover succeeded in bringing in some of the major and fastest growing gangs in Chicago into the alliance. Within the time period, Hoover also managed to create a Latino faction of the gang which went by the name Spanish Gangsters Disciples. The alliance between the BGDs and BDs was short-lived. In 1991, an inter-alliance war was started and they started shooting at one another. The war between the two gangs set bad precedents for the folk nation, which would later cause multiple other inter-alliance wars to happen. When the war broke out between the BGDs and the BDs, the BGDs were so mad that they removed black from their name and went simply by Gangster Disciples GDs. The GDs also became the biggest gang in Chicago in the 1990s. Larry Hoover's power over the gang was so great that in 1993 about 10,000 Gangster Disciples showed up to hear Hoover speak on a phone from prison. During the meeting, Hoover pushed growth and development concept, which claimed that GDs were no longer operating in the criminal world. However, in 1995, in an effort to hurt the GD's leadership, Operation Headache was launched, which took down 39 high-ranking Gangster Disciples members. As a direct result of this operation, Hoover was given a read more at http://www.hipwiki.com/gangster+disciples.